Welcome to the AI Checkpoints. I'm your guide, ready to dive deep into some truly transformative tech. For all the buzz around AI over the last couple of years, a lot of companies are still kind of scratching their heads, wondering when it's actually going to hit their bottom line. It's this interesting puzzle. McKinsey actually calls it the Gen AI paradox.
Yeah, it's really striking. What the analysis shows is that nearly 8 out of 10 companies say they're using generative AI. But just as many report no significant bottom line impact. That's a huge disconnect, right? And it's something we
Ah,
really need to unpack for you today.
exactly. So yeah, our mission today is to cut through that paradox. We're going to explore why traditional Gen AI, for all its, flashed, hasn't quite delivered on its full promise. And then we'll introduce you to what seems like the real game changer, AI agents. We'll look at how these agents, well, they're just an evolution, maybe more like a revolution, enabling businesses to automate complex processes, supercharge agility, maybe even create totally new revenue streams. Plus, we'll, talk about the real challenges. It's not just the tech, it's the human element too. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding how AI is moving from just a reactive tool to something more like a proactive virtual collaborator. Okay, so let's really dig into this Gen AI paradox. We've all seen the cool stuff, writing emails, summarizing docs, making images. Fun stuff. But why isn't this translating into, big business wins?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it seems to boil down to an imbalance. McKinsey's research really highlights this. Companies scaled up really fast on what they call horizontal use cases,
Okay.
like enterprise-wide co-pilots, chatbots, that kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, the general tools.
Right. They're easy to deploy, relatively speaking,
Right.
but the gains are diffuse, spread out, really hard to measure definitively. By contrast, the vertical use cases, those are the ones deeply embedded in specific business functions, specific processes.
Ah, the specialized stuff.
Exactly. And they're largely stuck in pilot mode. The data is pretty stark, actually. Fewer than 10%, according to McKinsey, make it past the pilot stage.
Wow, less than 10%. So it's like we've got lots of Swiss Army knives, but we're not building the specialized high impact machines yet. Why is that? What's holding those vertical use cases back?
Yeah, that's the key question, isn't it? And McKinsey points to several factors. One is just fragmented initiatives, lots of bottom-up efforts happening in different silos. Less than 30% apparently report direct CEO sponsorship, so maybe not enough top-level push.
Right, no strategic alignment, maybe.
Could be. Then there's the lack of mature packaged solutions. Teams are often forced to custom build using tech that's still, emerging, which is hard. And a really critical point, the technological limitations of those first-generation large language models, the LLMs.
Ah, the LLMs. We hear about them constantly. What were their specific limitations in, like, an enterprise context?
Well, they were powerful, no doubt, but fundamentally passive. They don't act unless you prompt them. They don't initiate. They also struggled with complex, multi-step workflows. You ask it to do A, then B, then C, based on the outcome of B. That gets tricky. They lacked persistent memory over long interactions. And they could produce inaccurate outputs, hallucinations, right? So trust becomes an issue where precision is really vital.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You can't run a critical process on something unreliable.
Exactly. And there were other factors too. Siloed AI teams, not talking to each other, maybe big gaps in data accessibility and quality, and even just, cultural apprehension, people worried about disruption.
So, despite all these hurdles, the first wave of Gen AI wasn't a waste, right? It must have laid some crucial groundwork.
Oh, absolutely not a waste. No way. It definitely enriched employee capabilities, made people faster, maybe more creative. It allowed for broad experimentation, which is valuable. It accelerated just general AI familiarity across the business and helped organizations build really essential skills. Prompt engineering, model evaluation, governance. All that stuff is critical. And all of this, as McKinsey notes, really paved the way for what's coming next, this age of AI agents.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting then. If traditional Gen AI was like that super smart assistant, what are AI agents? How do they actually move beyond those limitations we just talked about?
Right. So AI agents mark a major evolution, a real step change. They extend Gen AI from just, reactive content generation to autonomous goal-driven execution.
Execution.
Okay, yeah. Unlike those passive LLMs, agents can understand a goal you give them. They can break that goal down into subtasks. They can interact with humans, yes, but also directly with other systems, other software.
Yeah.
They can execute actions in those systems. And they can adapt in real time based on what happens, all with minimal human intervention.
Minimal intervention.
Wow.
Wow.
They do this by basically combining the LLM, the language brain, with extra components. Things for memory, for planning, for orchestrating actions, and for integrating with other tools. It's like giving the LLM, well, a memory, a planner, and hands to actually do things in the digital world.
So, yeah, they're not just responding to prompts, they're actually doing things proactively. What kind of impact does that have on a business? I mean, that sounds huge.
It enables far more than just efficiency gains, although those can be significant. Agents can really supercharge operational agility, make businesses way more responsive. And they could open up entirely new revenue opportunities, too.
Okay, let's break that down. Operations first. How do they boost agility?
Well, McKinsey points to like 5 key ways they transform processes. They accelerate execution, partly through parallel processing, doing multiple things at once. They bring adaptability, adjusting workflows on the fly if conditions change. They enable deep personalization at scale. They make operations more resilient, spotting disruptions, rerouting things automatically. And they offer elastic capacity, scaling up or down instantly with demand.
Okay, that's a lot. Can you give us a concrete example? Like, how does that operational agility look in the real world?
Sure. Think about a complex supply chain. It's a classic example. An AI agent could act as this autonomous orchestration layer sitting on top of everything. It's connected to your internal systems planning, warehouse management, whatever. And it's pulling in external data, weather forecasts, real-time demand signals, port congestion reports. So this agent could continuously forecast demand. Not just batch jobs, but always on. It could identify risks like, oh, a storm is brewing near that shipping lane. Then it could dynamically replan transport and inventory flows to mitigate that risk. Maybe selected a different shipping mode, balancing cost and, say, carbon emissions. It could even potentially negotiate directly with external logistics providers' systems for capacity or better rates.
Wow. So it's like an automated control tower, but one that can actually act on its decisions?
Exactly. The result, you expect improved service levels, definitely reduce logistics costs, maybe even lower emissions because it's optimizing better. It's running itself, essentially.
That's incredible for operations. Just transformative. But you mentioned new revenue opportunities too. How do agents help with the top line?
Yeah, they can amplify existing revenues and they can unlock entirely new ones. For amplifying existing revenue, think about e-commerce. Agents embedded in an online store could proactively analyze a user's behavior, their context, what they're looking at, and surface really relevant, real-time upselling or cross-selling offers. Much smarter than current pop-ups.
Right. More personalized, less annoying maybe.
Hopefully. Or in finance, maybe agents helping customers find the right financial products, offering tailored guidance 24/7. Now, for creating new revenue streams, this is really interesting. Industrial companies could embed agents in their connected products, say a jet engine or a large machine tool. These agents monitor usage, predicted failures, maybe autonomously unlock premium features based on usage patterns, or trigger proactive maintenance actions. This enables things like pay-per-use models or outcome-based subscriptions.
So selling the service the machine provides, not just the machine.
Exactly. And service organizations, like law firms or consultancies, could even encapsulate their internal expertise. Imagine packaging legal reasoning or tax interpretation logic into an AI agent and offering that as a software as a service tool, maybe an API, to clients or smaller businesses who couldn't afford the full human service.
Okay, this isn't science fiction anymore then. Are companies actually doing this, putting these agent workforces into practice?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's early days for many, but the pioneers are moving. Quantum Black, which is McKinsey's AI arm, they've shared some really compelling case studies. For instance, one large bank was facing this massive legacy system modernization. Huge project, budgeted over $600 million.
Wow.
They used these hybrid digital factories involving AI agents. The agents were actually writing new code, reviewing code written by other agents, integrating it into features. Human supervisors were still there, obviously, guiding the process, ensuring quality, but the agents did a lot of the heavy lifting, the impact they reported. More than a 50% reduction in time and effort in the teams that adopted it early.
50% reduction on a project that size? That's massive. Any other examples that kind of jumped out?
Yeah, definitely. Another one involved a market research firm. They had major struggles with data quality. They relied on over 500 people for data processing and validation. And still, apparently 80% of errors were caught by their clients. Ouch.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Not ideal at all.
Okay.
So they developed this multi-agent solution. It autonomously identifies data anomalies, figures out why sales or market share might have shifted by analyzing internal and external signals, and surfaces insights that humans often miss just because the agent can process so much more data and context. Now, McKinsey notes this one wasn't fully in production yet when they reported, but it showed potential for over 60% productivity gain and expected savings of over $3 million a year.
Serious numbers again. Okay, maybe one more. A third example.
Sure. A second bank looked at its credit memo creation process. Super complex, very manual. Analysts had to dig through at least 10 different data sources, pull info, write it up. Tedious. Now, AI agents assist the relationship managers. They extract the data automatically, draft sections of the memo, even generate confidence scores to help prioritize which memos need the most human review. They can suggest follow-up questions, too.
So the human analyst shifts from data monkey to reviewer and strategist.
Pretty much. The role changes from manual drafting to strategic oversight, handling exceptions, and the potential gain. McKinsey identified anywhere from 20 to 60% increase in productivity, including a potential 30% improvement in the actual credit turnaround time, which is huge for customer experience.
Game changer for speed and accuracy there. Okay, so what does all this mean for how companies should approach this? Is it just about, buying some agent software and plugging it into the existing workflows?
No, not at all. And this is a really critical distinction experts like McKinsey emphasize. If you want to realize the full potential, especially in those complex vertical areas, it requires more than just inserting agents into your old legacy workflows. It really calls for a fundamental shift in the design mindset.
Okay, how so?
You need to move from thinking about automating tasks within an existing process to completely reinventing the entire process, designing it from the ground up with both human and agentic coworkers in mind. If you just embed agents without redesigning, yeah, they might make things faster, like a faster assistant. But the process itself stays sequential, human-shaped, and that limits the true transformation.
That's a big distinction. Reinvention, not just automation. Can you walk us through an example of what that reinvention looks like?
Yeah, let's use a hypothetical customer call center like McKinsey illustrates. Level 1. You use basic Gen AI tools to assist the human staff, maybe help them write emails faster, find knowledge-based articles. That might improve resolution time, productivity, maybe 5 to 10%. Nice, but incremental.
Okay. Level 1 is assistance.
Level 2. You add agents to automate specific steps in the existing workflow. Maybe an agent classifies incoming tickets automatically, or suggests potential root causes for the human to review. Now, you might get, say, 20 to 40% time savings, maybe a 30 to 50% reduction in backlog. Better.
Getting warmer. So what's level 3?
Level 3 is where the process is fundamentally reimagined around agent autonomy. Here, AI agents aren't just helping or doing one step. They're proactively detecting issues, maybe from IoT sensor data before a customer even calls. They're anticipating customer needs based on history. They're initiating resolution steps automatically, maybe interacting with other systems to fix the problem. They might even communicate directly with the customer for simple updates or confirmations. The human agents, they become escalation managers, handling the truly complex, novel, or sensitive cases the agents can't solve.
Wow. So the agents handle the bulk, humans handle exceptions. What's the impact there?
Potentially transformative. You could see maybe up to 80% of common incidents resolved autonomously, with a 60 to 90% reduction in the average resolution time.
That's radical improvement, not just incremental. So, okay, maybe not every process needs that full level 3 reinvention.
Exactly. Simple, highly standard, repetitive stuff. Like maybe basic payroll processing. Task automation is probably fine, but the analysis is clear. For processes that are complex, cross-functional, prone to exceptions, or really tightly linked to core business performance, those often warrant the full redesign.
What are the signals? How do you know a process is a good candidate for reinvention?
Key indicators McKinsey points out include things like high coordination overhead, lots of back and forth between teams or systems, rigid sequences that cause delays, frequent human intervention needed for decisions that honestly could be data-driven if the data was accessible and processed quickly, and clear opportunities for dynamic adaptation or personalization that the current process just can't handle. In those cases, redesigning around what the agent can do, orchestrate, adapt, learn that unlocks way more value than just speeding up the old way.
Okay, that makes sense. Look for the bottlenecks and the opportunities for intelligence. Now, to make all this work, especially that level 3 stuff, there must be some serious underlying tech needed, right? What kind of architecture do you need to orchestrate all these agents at scale?
Yeah, you definitely need more than just throwing a few agent tools out there. What's emerging, and what McKinsey describes, is a new AI architectural paradigm they call the Agentic AI mesh.
Agentic AI mesh. Okay, sounds complex.
It is, but it's designed to manage that complexity. Think of it as a framework. It's composable, meaning you can plug in different agents, different LLMs, different tools like building blocks. It's distributed, allowing for networks of specialized agents to cooperate. It's vendor agnostic, which is
Mhm.
crucial. You don't want to get locked into one provider's ecosystem for everything.
Right, avoiding vendor lock-in is key.
Absolutely. The mesh architecture prefers open standards for communication between models and agents. Things like MCP, the Model Context Protocol, and A2A, Agent to Agent. These are basically like common languages, so different AI systems can talk to each other effectively. It also emphasizes layered decoupling for modularity and governed autonomy, building the rules and guardrails right into the architecture.
So it's not just one giant agent, but potentially a whole network of specialized agents working together on a platform designed for flexibility and control, like an operating system for enterprise AI.
That's a great way to think about it, yes. The agentic AI mesh acts as that connective tissue, that orchestration layer. It helps manage the new kinds of systemic risks like uncontrolled autonomy or that agent sprawl we might touch on, and it lets companies blend their own custom-built agents with off-the-shelf solutions. Ultimately, the idea is that enterprise systems themselves need to evolve towards an agent-first model,
Agent first, meaning.
meaning their interfaces, their internal logic, their data access layers. They need to be designed primarily for machine interaction, not just human clicking through screens.
Yeah.
SAP's move with Joule on their business technology platform is cited as an example of this broader transition towards an agent-native future. Systems built for agents to use.
Okay, this sounds incredibly sophisticated on the tech side, but interestingly, one analysis suggests the bigger challenge down the road won't actually be the technology. What do they mean by that?
Yeah, that's a fascinating point. As agents scale and become more capable, the complexity seems to shift from purely technical problems to organizational ones. Experts like those at McKinsey argue the real bottleneck, the real challenge, will lie in coordination, judgment, and trust.
Organizational challenges, okay?
And they see this playing out across three main dimensions. First, human-agent cohabitation. How do we actually work alongside these things? Second, autonomy control. How much freedom do we give them, and how do we manage it? And third, sprawl containment. How do we prevent chaos?
Okay, let's take those one by one. Human-agent cohabitation. How do we work side by side with something that acts autonomously, maybe even makes decisions for us? What are the tricky parts?
It raises some really nuanced questions, right? When should an agent take the initiative versus waiting for instructions? When should it defer to a human? How do we ensure human oversight and agency remain, but without slowing everything down so much that you lose the benefits of the automation? Trust is key, obviously, but it won't just come from the agent performing well. It'll hinge on how transparently agents communicate their reasoning, how predictably they behave, especially in unexpected situations.
Right. Predictability and transparency build trust. Okay, what about autonomy control?
This is about managing agents that can act independently. How do you set the right boundaries? How do you handle edge cases? What if an agent becomes, say, overly aggressive in pursuing a goal, ignoring constraints? Or what if it fails to escalate a problem it can't handle to a human? And how do you mitigate the risk of agents acting confidently on hallucinated or incorrect information? You need robust controls.
Yeah, guardrails are essential. And the third one, sprawl containment.
Agent sprawl. Think of it like the shadow IT problem, but potentially much bigger. With low-code and no-code platforms making it easier for anyone to potentially build or deploy an agent, you risk this uncontrolled proliferation of redundant, fragmented, maybe insecure or non-compliant agents all over the organization. Managing that, ensuring governance, avoiding chaos, that's a huge organizational challenge.
A new kind of digital clutter, but with autonomy. Okay, I see the challenge. So given all this, the potential, the tech, the organizational hurdles, what's the path forward? How should organizations approach this to truly scale AI agents and actually get those transformative benefits?
Well, the consensus from analyses like McKinsey's is that organizations really need to fundamentally reshape their whole AI transformation approach. It's not business as usual. They break it down across four dimensions that need to change. First is strategy. You've got to move beyond scattered tactical initiatives. It needs to become strategic programs deeply aligned with critical business priorities, maybe even reimagining entire business segments around agent capabilities.
So less experimenting, more focused strategic bets.
Exactly. Second, the unit of transformation itself needs to change. Stop thinking about optimizing isolated use cases. Start thinking about reinventing entire business processes. Ask the big question, what would this whole function look like if AI agents were running 60% of it? That forces a different perspective.
That is a powerful reframing. From use case to process reinvention, what are the other two dimensions?
Third is the delivery model. Get rid of the siloed AI teams working in isolation. Move towards cross-functional transformation squads. You need business domain experts, process designers, AI engineers, MLOps people, all working together from the start.
Integrated teams. Makes sense. And fourth,
Fourth is industrializing the delivery. Move from constant experimentation to scalable, repeatable delivery. This means anticipating the technical prerequisites, like that agentic mesh architecture we talked about, and critically, rigorously estimating and planning for the recurring costs of AI solutions. Experts point out these ongoing costs for compute, APIs, monitoring, maintenance can often be very high, sometimes even exceeding the initial build cost over time. It's not like traditional IT.
that's a crucial point about the recurring costs, different economics. Okay, so beyond these big shifts in approach, what are the critical enablers? What foundations need to be in place?
Four foundational enablers are consistently highlighted: people, governance, technology architecture, and data. For people, it's about fostering that human plus agent mindset. It's a culture shift. It requires targeted training, reskilling, and creating new roles. Prompt engineers, yes, but also agent trainers, agent orchestrators, AI ethicists.
New jobs for the agent era.
Absolutely. For governance, you need clear frameworks, defining autonomy levels for different types of agents, setting decision boundaries, what can an agent decide, what needs human approval, and robust monitoring. For technology architecture, it's about proactively evolving towards that agentic AI mesh and preparing core enterprise systems to be agent first. And finally, data. You need to accelerate data productization, making high-quality data easily accessible like a product, and extending governance to cover unstructured data, because that's where so much value for agents lies.
People, governance, tech, data, the core pillars. It really sounds like this isn't just a project for the tech department, is it? This feels like a top-level leadership challenge. What's the CEO's role in making this happen?
You nailed it. This pivot, this transformation, it really cannot be delegated down the chain. It has to be initiated, championed, and led from the very top by the CEO. Recent analysis highlights three key actions for that top leadership. First, consciously conclude the broad experimentation phase. It's time to focus. Realign AI priorities on strategic goals and actively retire those unscalable pilots that aren't going anywhere.
Okay, make some tough choices.
Second, redesign the AI governance structure and the operating model. Set up a strategic AI council, maybe chaired by the CEO or a direct report, involving leaders from across the business: HR, data, IT, risk, legal. Get everyone at the table. And third, launch a first highly visible lighthouse transformation project. Pick one critical process to reinvent using agents. Do that while simultaneously starting to build out that foundational agentic AI tech platform. Don't wait for the tech to be perfect before starting the lighthouse.
So it's about moving decisively from broad exploration to determined, focused transformation, with the CEO really charting the course and setting the pace. What's the ultimate takeaway here? The biggest thought to leave us with?
I think it's this. We're at a moment of potential strategic divergence. AI agents offer a genuine leapfrog opportunity for companies ready to embrace this change. But for those who lag, who stick to incrementalism, it could actually risk accelerating their decline relative to competitors who make the leap. You see leaders like Moderna already moving aggressively. They're not just deploying agents, they're fundamentally rewiring their organization. Merging HR and IT leadership, for instance, signals they see AI as a core workforce-shaping force, not just another IT tool. The message seems clear. The time for broad, tentative exploration is rapidly ending. The time for focused transformation is now. This isn't just the next incremental step. It's potentially the foundation of the next generation operating model for many businesses.
That's a powerful thought to leave everyone with. The time for transformation is now. The shift to AI agents, it really isn't just an upgrade, is it? It's potentially a fundamental reimagining of how businesses operate and how they create value. We hope this deep dive into the Gen AI paradox and the rise of AI agents has given you some serious aha moments and maybe a clearer path forward.
Yeah, and this maybe raises an important question for you, the listener. How will you start reimagining your processes around agent autonomy? There's definitely a lot to consider, but the potential seems truly immense.
Absolutely. Keep that question in mind as you go about your day. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of AI agents. Hit like and subscribe if you like the content. See you next time.